Hi there, and welcome to the Concept 101 podcast. My name is Daniel.
Stefan.
And Jules.
We are three concept artists currently working in the industry, as well as the organizers of the Concept 101 event in London. In today's episode, we'll mainly be discussing who we are, what the podcast is, and doing a general kind of introduction. So the first thing to kind of talk about is what is the podcast and why did we make it? I don't know if either of you want to cover that, because otherwise it's just me talking.
No, so I think the main reason why we wanted to bring this podcast and make it is because
We're self-obsessed.
Yeah, we are. No, I think there isn't enough. There isn't enough podcasts that cover, not that cover these topics, but necessarily that have people who just joined the industry early on.
Yeah, we're just trying to bring something fresh. Most podcasts have people that have been in the industry for a very long time.
Yeah, like 15 to 20 years of experience. And
We're very
comparatively,
new. Yeah,
we're all here for about 2 years, maybe, if that. So you can really trust what we're saying.
Yes, we're gonna say only bad stuff.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's that experience that we have that you, I guess, forget once you've been in the industry for a long time. You forget how it was when you were starting out and those kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I think most importantly, we have recently got into the industry, and, the main listeners for things like the Concept Art podcast are students. And I think our time as students is all very fresh in our minds, as is our entry into the industry and our progress. And I think the hope is that, if you're listening to this podcast, you're hopefully only a few years away from getting into industry, and you can kind of grow and learn with us rather than us just passing advice down to you, so to speak.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. And on that kind of note of the experience that we have, it's probably good to introduce ourselves. So Jules, do you want to go first and tell us who you are, why we care about you?
Please care about me. Anyway, my name is Jules Darila. I'm from Switzerland. I currently work as a concept artist at Frame Store. And before that, I was at Painting Practice. I studied in Bournemouth University a course called Computer Animation, Art and Design, which was interesting and not really useful for concept art, but I think we'll talk about this later. I moved in the UK 5-6 years ago now, and that's it for me, I think.
Okay.
And you studied 3D the computer animation.
Yeah, computer animation was like the 3D pipeline. So basically what you need to work within a movie production or video game production. But it was very, it's universities in the UK, so it gives you some bare knowledge, and then you have to fight, or not fight, but you have to do
the bears.
stuff.
You have to fight the bears with the bear.
Fight the bears, yeah. Which luckily I'm Swiss, so
yeah, exactly.
But no,
Are there bears in Switzerland?
No,
there's not,
because I kill all of them.
Oh, you got them. Okay.
There are some, but not where I live. Anyway,
because you killed them.
Yeah, obviously.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's too long for me. So Stefan.
Stefan, yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm Stefan Valasek, or Stefan Valasek, and I'm from Slovakia. I've been drawing for about 9 years, I think. I think it's roughly the same amount of time I've been working out properly. And I've been so I studied concept art in UK actually. So for 3 years at Staffordshire University, and then I've been working at Shark Mob London for over 2 years now. And
You're the old man of the group.
I definitely, very old. I'm the oldest here by a year.
Yeah.
Senior man.
Yeah. And I've been in the industry for just a little bit longer than everyone here. But I guess later on, I think we'll speak about what were our first experiences, because with the job, because obviously I didn't start at Shark Mob. I started by doing some freelance and stuff like that.
Okay, nice. So I'm Daniel McGarry. I'm a junior concept artist at Industrial Light and Magic, which is cool. Oh man, I'm having a blank on who I am. I think I have dementia. I studied First, a foundation degree in Bournemouth, which actually was at the opposite university to Jules, although we never met. Thank God.
We've been enemies since
We've
then.
been enemies since
Yeah.
then, yeah. And after that, I spent 3 years at Central St Martin's in London studying graphic communication design, which I then kind of used to pivot into concept art once I graduated. And yeah, that's about it, really. I grew up in the UK. I think I forgot to mention that, but it's probably obvious from my voice.
Yeah, I think
But,
just by
um,
listening to us, people know where we're from.
I
Or like, or like, or like, or like
I don't know, man.
Stefan's
they,
just like,
they know we're not from the UK.
Yeah,
Yeah, they know
yeah.
Dan is from the UK.
I could do accents, but that
yeah.
might get the podcast pulled.
I always get guess, and people can never really guess where I'm from unless they have specifically like Slovakian friends. Usually they go like, "You from Spain or something?"
Do you
Because
think
I
you
look Spanish or something.
Yeah,
I think.
you do look Spanish a bit.
Yeah, I always get it. Spanish, Italian. I'm
Yeah.
like, no.
This
don't-
is
you
this
don't
is
look Slovakian.
great, guys, for an audio podcast talking about how we look. This is what,
Hopefully, you have a nice picture of Stefan to look at right now.
hopefully,
Yes.
yeah. So we've spoken a little bit about who we are and what we did. But I think one really kind of important thing to talk about in the introduction, especially with the minds of like, you know, the kind of goals of the podcast, and we want to talk about our early careers and stuff. How long did it actually take for you guys to go from studying to professional work? And was there kind of like, did it feel like an easy transition to go from studying into the industry for you guys?
Yes and no. I think for me, it took me about almost a year since I finished uni until my first real like full-time job at painting practice. I graduated during COVID, so it was this kind of weird time where I don't think it impacted the industry so much, concept art so much, but it impacted the university a lot, and also I think looking back now, at the time I didn't have like necessary skills to properly start, or like I could do freelance or like other stuff we'll talk about later. But yeah, so basically just stayed in Bournemouth.
How
for,
much
like,
of your university experience did you lose because of COVID?
6 months?
Oh, I lost 2 years.
Yeah, that's hardcore. My brother now, he started when COVID hit, which like he finally now is living regular university.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's anyway like university with COVID. Don't go. Just go to I don't know Lens Square or something. Better courses or CJNA. I don't know. Anyway, and yeah, so did work on my portfolio for a while. Traveled a bit as well. Went to see family in Switzerland as well as, my girlfriend lives in Greece. And after that, I kind of spent some time to properly learn all the skills I was missing from university. And after that,
So did you have a period where you were applying for work? after
yeah,
you
a
graduated?
long time. It was such a weird thing because like you, it's very hard when you're starting or when you're trying to get into the industry to kind of figure out if you're good enough. And I was applying to places, even places like mobile games. I really thought I could do easily, like not big mobile games, like very small mobile games, and I was being rejected. Actually, I didn't get any answer at all, right? and like. Yeah, so it was like hard. I was like, I mean, am I even good enough? And then you kind of look at what other people do, and I was like, okay, yeah, I think I'm good enough. Until there's just someone, I guess, that's willing to give you a chance. Yeah.
Wait, so
It's
you
I also
almost-
think
Sorry.
they're gone. Sorry.
So you applied for after uni. You applied to games
Games,
studios that were like mobile
films.
games, and you got rejected.
Yeah, dude. I
The
mean, it's
portfolio
insane.
that you had.
Yeah, but I was at the
What
same
the
time.
heck?
Yeah. No. I mean,
I think one of the things is though, like, I mean, while you did have a very good portfolio, maybe it just wasn't good for what you were applying for.
Probably,
And I mean, also, I think one of the things is like, you can have like a good quote unquote portfolio, but even still, this is a job that often requires a lot of introspection about like where you're lacking. And I think probably, from the time, because I think I was following your work between then.
Yeah.
And like you definitely improved because I think you took a look at what you were doing and like, okay, where am I actually missing the
Yeah.
skills, right?
Yeah, I guess also because I finally took the time to be like, okay, what do I need to do to work professionally in these things? It wasn't before. It was like, oh, what do I feel like painting that I think is cool, and it was more like characters, or it was less professional work. It was more like hobby work.
Yeah, you showed us some work recently, I remember, maybe like 2 weeks ago, that was from university, and we were both so shocked that it was your work, not because it wasn't good, but because like stylistically it was so wildly different
Very
to
cartoony,
anything you do now.
Borderlands like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like self shading. Yeah. I think it's also just someone willing to give you a chance. I got this interview opening practice, and they were like very short interview, and they were like, yeah, you start Monday. And they were like, you're gonna work on Wednesday. So I went to being rejected from like the weirdest mobile games that no one ever know about, to getting the chance to work on Wednesday, which was great. And then painting practice, very lucky to be part of the team.
And I think that's often the case. I mean, so I was very lucky comparatively, and I started working before I actually graduated technically. I mean, it didn't really matter because I was working from home either way because of COVID. But it was, I got two very nice opportunities, one of which was ILM, which I ended up taking, which was amazing. And then I also was considering for a time Gearbox and moving to Texas, which would have been amazing because I love their games and what they do.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, obviously, given what I was painting at uni, that was like a place I would love to work.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit less now.
Yeah.
Given how
you're doing more film work now as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had applied for other places in between that I think generally people would be like, oh, if you work at X company, you would be able to get a job at Y company. But I never even got replies from them. I think sometimes that's just the way it is, where like things just get thrown into the bin by hiring managers and stuff. And stuff just gets canned really easily.
Also, like if they work on a car game, no matter how good you are, you're not going to be hired. I mean, at least myself, I'm not going to get hired for a car game, even.
So you might need to specify because you don't have cars in your portfolio, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the times in car games, they have like licensed cars, so you do a lot of the environment stuff, and like in Forza, like.
Yeah, but I think the point is like you have to be lucky to be on like the right kind of project that a company might be working on.
Yeah, I mean, when I got into Shark Mob, I was going through the interview process.
Wait, we need the preface of between university and your job. You need to tell us what happened in between.
So after uni, I've applied to a bunch of companies. I started to apply, and I did a little bit of work for a theme park company, which was one of the worst experiences I ever had doing freelance work. And it kind of showed me what I didn't want to do, like the people that I didn't want to work with, which was good in a way because I knew what I wanted after that. So then I went and I lived in Germany for 6 months, and I cycled around Munich, giving away my portfolio. I printed out my portfolio, and I was like knocking on doors, and I spoke to Trickster, Rodion. Those are the two ones that I remember, I think, because like they actually let me into the office. I signed an NDA.
The other ones you broke into, right?
Yeah. No, the other ones, it would be like, I would be on the door, be like, oh, can I show you my portfolio?
You're like a vampire. You actually have to be invited in.
You're just throwing food at them, and then they have to just let you to clean them or something.
There were two more studios. I forgot their names.
That was very weird. As I was talking, I was like, what the fuck am I saying? Sorry.
There were other two studios that I went to as well. I think it was like Cinecide or whatever, but they were really nice. And I never got a job out of that, never in at least in Munich. But I did get another little gig from someone I knew to work on like a stylized animated kids movie. And I worked on that for about a couple weeks. And then I got an offer from Shark Mob after that. And I was happy to move to London and start working AAA games, we can say. And I had a lot of fun. And just to quickly explain like the thing that with my portfolio when I started Shark Mob, I had applied there, and I had a project that was very like in my portfolio there's a project that they liked for some of the stuff that they were working on.
Don't say which project it is, Stefan.
I'm not saying which project it is. I'm just saying that there was a project within the portfolio that they thought was good enough that I didn't have to do an art test, basically. They thought, this is what we want from you. And that's it. And then I started to work for Shark Mob. And I think sometimes it's not just about your skill level. It's also about just getting lucky and just fitting into that vision or the things that they want. Kind of like the thing where if you want to work for on Uncharted, then you do like Uncharted related work. And I'm not saying that there is a like, yeah,
I kind of disagree. I don't think if you want to work on a particular game or IP, you should necessarily be making like homages to that IP, because I think
But I
generally
think-
a lot of companies, most of the companies I know,
yeah, but you don't want to be applying for sci-fi work and do fantasy work,
well, I don't know, it
You-
depends.
I agree a bit with Stefan. I think it
But,
depends
like,
how much variety you have, right? If
right.
you only have sci-fi,
Okay, yeah.
You're
But
not
like,
gonna
yeah,
take you
if I think like, yeah, okay, fine. If you have like a general portfolio, then it's good. But I would
Yeah.
say, I wouldn't say if you want to work on, for example, like the rule with Star Wars is if you want to work on Star Wars, you probably shouldn't do Star Wars fan art. Like that's, like kind of a rule, I guess. And I'm
never-
sure that's the same with
yeah.
most other companies,
Yeah.
because if you're creating stuff that is, so close to the original IP that it's homage, then I think that can often like kind of indicate to employers that you won't bring anything new to the table.
I think we could just summarize in a way that
Have a
you
generalized
to-
portfolio.
Yeah, you have to. It's good to have generalized portfolio, but more than that, it's sometimes you don't really know what the company is looking for, and you can just get lucky by having the right pieces or having the right style or the workflow that the company likes. Like for example, CIG. We know that CIG likes line art, right? So I would imagine, or like
Do
hard
they?
surface stuff. Yeah,
CIG likes line art.
Well,
If you have
they
very
hired
good-
like Shang and
yeah,
Danny.
yeah. If you have very good line art,
But I would say
I heard the opposite. I heard that Chris
Really?
Roberts
Yeah, I heard Chris Roberts really likes it.
only likes polished,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
final keyframes. But
But none of us work there.
yeah,
we don't work here.
Maybe
Anyway.
we can get Danny and Callum on for an episode,
Yeah.
and we can get them to publicly rag on their company about
on the big boss.
on the big boss. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that
should
sounds
do
like a
that.
good
We
idea.
should
I'm
get
sure
them-
they'd
get them
love
fired
it.
and all that.
Yeah, all of the questions be like, well, so what do you think of your boss? And the secondary question would be, what about your art director?
What's the most NDA thing?
Could you explain on this audio podcast a piece of visual work that you've done that's very NDA?
Great game, by the way. I like it.
Have you played it?
Yeah, I play it.
I've never played
I
it.
play it, but
I've only watched.
I've watched
videos
Danny
of it.
play it.
yeah, it's cool, but it's the kind of game that kind of develops slowly, so you only want to play once in a while when there's new stuff. Also, it can be very tedious and slow to play. So if you play for like an hour and get things finally started, because it takes ages to do everything, it's almost like a simulation of space, right?
I need a game that's like a quick cocaine hit,
Yeah,
just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like Overwatch. That's my current like game of
Oh yeah,
choice.
yeah.
It's not that great, but it's kind of like I just played for like half an hour.
We should play Dark Tide together, new Warhammer game.
Ooh,
Pretty cool.
that does look
I've got
cool.
it.
Yeah, I did the mentorship with Miguel when he was working on
Oh,
it.
nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I didn't get to see anything, but it looks cool. I mean, he's a great artist, so
We're just using this podcast to
is
find
it.
time to play together.
yeah. Maybe that can be the next episode. Is we just completely
Yeah.
don't. We just play video games and sit there.
Well, the next project we have is the live stream video game, which comes with 101.
Perfect. Let's bring the conversation slightly back on track. Was there, when you were going from studying to professional work, which is what I think what we were meant to be talking about, do you remember there being kind of like a bit of a breakthrough moment for you, where you kind of went, because I can remember, I have a feeling that there was like maybe a month of my life where my work started doing better online. I started having other professionals following me, and I was like, oh, I think I'm a professional now, if that makes sense. Like even if before I was hired, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if you guys can remember a moment like that, or if there was any particular thing that happened that made you feel like a professional, or feel like you had a chance of becoming a professional finally.
I think it's every time I would learn something new. Like I remember a course from JAMA, like the EV Blender course, something like this. And I was learning Blender at the time because I didn't know how to learn Blender until I finished uni. How to use Blender, sorry. And and then I did that and I was like, holy shit, it makes everything so much easier. And I saw like my work getting better and getting more attention online. And I was very happy with this. And after that, it was just like maybe some freelance work I did. where I felt like I was able to deal with the clients, but it wasn't concept art related. And then, yeah, I guess the main real moment was when someone told me, you got the job. And I felt like, okay, it's not just a dream. Because, you know, after a year of trying and being rejected, you're like, okay, maybe, it's, you know, you doubt a bit.
I didn't get to that point.
Yeah.
So
Lucky you.
Daniel never had to deal with that.
I never had that particular brand of emotional damage.
I definitely had that as well. It took me 8 months until I got the job at Shark
Yeah.
Mob. And I was doing some freelance work, but only very, very, very little freelance work. And it was like not anything big that would make me feel like, yeah, I'm doing it, you know, I'm making it. And it was, it was quite tough because, as Jules said, sometimes you get from people like, yeah, you're good enough, you should be in the industry, right? And then
I think
you're
that's
not.
almost like one of the most annoying comments that you could possibly get, because oftentimes it's like everybody has a very subjective opinion as well of like what good enough to be in the industry is, depending on like, I think one thing is as well, like we're, you know, all around the same age and stuff, and a lot of people who might say that to you are people like art directors. And kind of one of the things is like a lot of people who are art directors now, even like, you know, let's say they usually on average would take somebody like 8 to 10 years to become an art director or something, right? And when they were being hired as juniors, the industry was so wildly different to the way that it is now. You know, the quality standards and the quality bar, I think, have just like shot up over the last 5 years, especially with the introduction of 3D and like more available 3D via Sketchfab.
Courses and everything.
Yeah, courses as well. The just general massive amounts of information you can get. And so the expectations are way higher. So when someone says, hey, you know, you're good enough to get into the industry, oftentimes I think they're talking about like, hey, you're good enough to get into the industry 10 years ago.
No, I'm surely they are comparing it to some of the work that
But
they're
then-
seeing around themselves.
I mean, you say that, but then, I mean, has anybody who's ever said that to you then offered you a job? Do you know what I mean? They've been like, you're good
No,
enough to
but
get
I
in the
mean-
industry, but not at my company.
But in a funny way, though, I was told that I'm good enough to get into the industry. I think Ricardo was Lima. I did a course with him.
I do, of course, with him too. Very good. I recommend it.
Yeah, it's in CGMA. He's a great, if you're a great artist. If you ever want to do that course, reach out to me. I'll send you a PDF file that breaks down all of the stuff.
I'll send you the course for free.
Yeah.
No,
I think
but
you're just
I didn't-
admitting to
no.
like stealing stuff
No,
right
no,
now.
I'll sell the
No,
course to you.
yeah.
No, it's
I'll
more
do
like-
the course for you.
No, it's more like breakdown of all the thoughts that he was teaching. So I wrote notes for everything.
Don't do that, man.
Yeah,
No,
don't do that.
I feel like it's a good preparation for the course.
Fair enough. Okay.
It's
Do you know what the best preparation for doing the course is doing the course via Stefan.
I'm not. Oh,
You think you're just trying to
I'm
steal
definitely not
Ricardo's
saying that.
gig, man?
No, I'm saying go do the course, and if you want, you can read the notes. It will help you. No, because I feel like a lot of people didn't get what was in the course. Like, if with most of the people that I did it, not to say anything, but I felt that.
But you are saying something.
Making enemies right now.
Yeah, I'm saying I fucking understood that course better than anyone else. And I'm saying it because I improved most out of everyone in that course. And I improved because of the things that he
You
taught.
wrote down and
I-
stole in your
yeah,
PDF.
yeah. And I understood exactly what
Selling
what
on
he
the
was
black
saying.
market
Anyway,
right now.
Yeah.
my point is,
Guys, if you need a copy of ZBrush, hit up Stefan.
no, my
I
point
got
is,
unlimited keys.
yeah, my point is that after that I did the Atom Hawk challenge, and then I did a few more projects.
Nice misdirection.
Yeah, but only like eventually 2 months, let's say after that course, I kept doing work, or 3 months or whatever, and the bulk of work that I've done during that time, together with the Ricardo Limas course, probably everything before my uni work, everything after my uni work is what got me the job at Shark Mob. It wasn't like I did a piece right before I got hired for Shark Mob, and they were like, "Yeah, this is the piece," No, it was. I already was good enough for 8 months or 9 months or whatever after I finished uni, basically.
But I mean, you did improve quite a lot in those 8 months. So why do you think that you were good enough for that whole 8 months? Because you clearly made improvements and made better work, and then you got hired.
Well, I guess it's a feeling, right? Like,
But I think
I've been
everything
feeling
was
good about my work.
But I think
for, like-
everything after Ricardo Lima's course to the last piece that I did before I hired at Sharkman was similar quality.
Well, I would say that also like some I'm just gonna I'm pivoting from this point. I don't.
Right, no worries.
But like I would say something that's interesting is you spent 8 months making new work, and actually one of the other things you were doing besides improving during that time, even if you were good enough during that whole 8 months, was you were, actually just increasing the size of your portfolio and showing a greater variety of things you could do, showing off a greater variety of techniques and skills. And that is important. You can have one project where like somebody could look at it and go, God damn, this guy's like Jamie Jones. But if you have nothing else in your portfolio, you're not hireable. So sometimes it is a matter of just building up your portfolio. I mean,
Yeah. For sure.
our friend Fernando, who is like amazing artist,
Very good.
he was making work for a very long time, which I thought was like at a really high professional level. And it actually took him a while to get a job, I think, because it was just like to do with the body of work in his portfolio more than anything else.
Yeah. I think it's just an industry which is still very young and evolves very fucking fast.
Yeah.
And there's no, if you want to be a doctor, you go to uni.
And it's
you-
easy.
You
It's
do
easy
yeah,
to be a
easy.
doctor.
Doctor easy. Brain surgery easy. Surely I need one.
Easy.
Anyway, no, but like you know how to do it. If you tell your mom I want to be a doctor, everyone is gonna be like, yeah, you do that, boom, you're a doctor. If you succeed, right? It's
Yeah.
hard, but you know how to do it.
There is a
you
laid
say-
out
If
path.
you say someone I want to be a concept artist, there's like a million ways to be, and I can assure you that in 2 years there's gonna be like another 5 ways to do it, or even more. And some of the ways that used to be valid are wrong now.
And the other thing
So
is,
it's just a big mess,
if
There's
you're
no-
if you're doing like a more prescriptive career path, like becoming a doctor or a lawyer, or whatever it may be, it's very difficult to get those jobs and stuff. But I think the other thing to remember is like at the end of those courses, there is a piece of paper that you're handed that
Yeah.
says you're a doctor or you're a lawyer. You're good enough.
Yeah.
There is nothing like that in concept art. You can graduate from any of universities, even like the best universities in the world, like New Edge and Art Center. Even if you graduate with a diploma from there, it's not automatic that you're getting a job, right?
the paper and the CV is your portfolio.
Yes, and
It is the only thing that has values.
on that note,
In
when
one-
I started working, because I started working before I graduated, I never even showed my employers that
Yeah,
I
same,
had graduated.
same for me.
And when I never even mentioned it. They never asked. So, it does show you, like, I think, and we'll do an episode on this like another time about universities and self-teaching and stuff. But it is interesting, like that it's a very intangible kind of thing, this idea of like being good enough for the industry,
I think it's just that there's a way to prove it very easily. Portfolio, right? If you're an accountant, you can't prove someone easily you're a good accountant. You need a paper, right?
Yeah.
So that's why portfolio is so easy. It's just visual. Like people just have to look at it. It takes like 2 seconds, and someone who's been in industry for a while, 2 seconds, they know. And
2 seconds to look at,
you can bullshit a lot.
2
of stuff.
years to make.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
so-
Easily,
so you're
you
saying
can
you
bullshit
can-
as much as you want.
You're saying you can bullshit your way into being accountant, but you can't bullshit your way to be a concept artist.
No, I don't think that's
Yeah.
at all what he's saying.
Damn it.
You're just trying to make enemies
Yeah.
everywhere.
Why are you so fighty today?
I'm not
Stefan?
fighting. I think whatever. My mom started in finance, so
Okay.
I
He was defending his mother.
no offense to you.
We should do an episode of your mum jokes.
oh, dude.
That is an essential part of being a concept artist, I believe, at least.
Can we?
Do you want to move on?
I want to ask because I feel like we created a little question here, and the question is: so how do you like if let's say I'm a student,
Yeah.
and you have to give me an advice of what should I be working on to be able to get into the industry?
Oh, I got this.
Let's say I've been drawing for a year, right? So I'm like, I know how to draw a Batman, And
A
that's,
Batman,
Yeah, that's it. What would you give me like an advice? I want to get into industry in the next 4 years.
All right. So I'm gonna handle this, boys. I do so much student portfolio reviews and stuff, and like, if you're telling me you've only been drawing for a year, then the first thing to do is to address your fundamentals. So it's learning perspective, going through Scott Robertson, learning at least a basic level of anatomy from things like Bridgman and Michael Hampton, doing things like Draw-a-Box, which is a really well put together kind of illustrative like teaching mechanism online that's free, and then probably taking on things like courses, that will help you on CGMA. Doing Peter Han has some really great courses, I think.
Michael Kuss's course, right?
Michael Kuss's course is brilliant. Yeah, just practicing fundamentals, learning how lighting works, learning how anatomy works, learning how perspective works, learning about design, looking at like things like Alex Senechal's design basics tutorial, which is phenomenal. So that would be if you're a year. If you're a student, right, and let's presume that you have like a basic level of skill that you've already achieved, I think the most important thing to do is to take a look at what you look at, right? So like to kind of essentialize all of the media that you take in, and to say, all right, so I'm a really big fan of, let's say, Jamie Jones and Craig Mullins and Richard Wright, right? Who are all these like brilliant kind of like promotional artists kind of guys who don't really do that much concept art. They just do like the sexiest pictures. If those are the guys that you like, well then, okay, you're going to look at their work, you're going to look at their techniques. So they use like some minimal 3D. I think Richard Wright probably uses the most out of all of them at a guess. I don't know him personally, but I'm guessing. And then you're going to learn those techniques. You're going to figure it out. You're going to copy the same processes, and then you're going to look at the companies they work for and apply for the similar work. And that's really the way to do it. If you want to work at Naughty Dog, it's exactly the same deal. Look at their artists, look at the quality of work they have, figure out their processes, and use the same processes.
Yeah. I want to say it's very important that you ask yourself where you want to work and do exactly what Dan was saying, that it's important to take a moment to know, like to at least
know
have
yourself,
a goal, and where you want to go. Because I think part of the reason why I didn't get a job for that long is because I didn't know. I just didn't know. I was a bit confused. And also then something that's, I think, is arguably as much important as everything you said is just being in a community, having friends, getting feedback, like in the concept art world. Like since I've known people in the industry, like other concept artists, I feel like my work and just my understanding of everything concept art related has just been improving insanely, just because I'm surrounded by people like-minded, and also these people are going to help you, you're going to help them. Also online is very important. So I think it's another side, which is a social side, which is very important.
I think part of that is
be a nice person as well, obviously.
I think part of the social side is being modest enough to take on advice willingly, and not to, I'm sure that there was a point in I generally have like quite a low view of my own work. Like I look at myself and I'm like, I want to die. But
I think Daniel has days when he thinks he's the best, and then has days when he thinks
it's like
he's the worst.
one day a month where I'm the best, and 29 days a month where I'm the worst. Yeah, but I mean, it's
you're a very low skill ILM artist.
Yeah. But it's being modest enough to look at your own work and to really take a knife to it, and just to say like, yeah, this isn't good enough. I mean, I do quite a lot of work on my own time, and I will regularly completely butcher a project and start it again. In fact, I literally did a painting yesterday, which I think probably in a lot of production settings would have been good enough, but it's personal work and I want to improve. So I decided to start again because, I sat down. I mean, it's funny, but I think for a lot of your career, you spend a lot of time building up skills, and then afterwards you spend so much time. The most important thing, at least in my opinion, is you spend a lot of time not painting and just looking at your work. Like I will just stare at my work for like 10-20 minutes sometimes and like really try and figure out what's wrong with it, rather than I think some people there was the phrase like they try to polish a turd. Do you know what I mean?
There's a good analogy. There was the Bauhaus school in Germany, and there were like two teachers that did an experiment. One teacher had a class and it was a pottery course.
Right.
And they had a semester to make the students learn the best pottery, right? Like to do good pottery. And one teacher tried to give the whole semester to the students. And they had the whole semester to do one pottery. But they have to keep working on the same vase. And they have all the time in the world to make it great. And the other class, they had to make like one per day.
Yeah.
And by the end of the semester, obviously the people that have been making one very quickly every day, they got the best looking vase. Like the last phase they made was the best because they just keep iterating.
I feel like that goes against the thing I was just saying.
No, because you still do a lot of work, right?
Yes, but I think
but you reflect what you're doing. So you spend time because you look at what you're doing You spend time looking at it, and then you learn from your mistakes, and then you just redo it.
Well, I think
you're the
part
most
of it is
productive
like
artist I know.
it's like doing both of those things though. It's like
Yeah.
doing a lot of work and doing a lot of vases every day, so to speak. That's
Mm.
what I'm doing now is pottery. But also it's about understanding sometimes that it is worth your time to perfect a piece of pottery. You know, it's and that sometimes rather than perfecting it and like, for example, let's say I guess we're just talking about vases now.
No, but I mean,
you're making a vase.
you're still doing an iteration on it, right?
Right, no. But this is what I'm saying is like sometimes it's important to maybe you've spent like a month making something, and to really look at it at a certain stage in your career, right? Because I'm at a stage in my career which is slightly different to both of you because I have a larger body of work in my portfolio. So I don't have to prioritize just like putting work out to show my skills anymore, or at least for a while, I hope. So I'm just trying to make
also now professional work is gonna go out of NDA, so you can upload stuff.
That's
you've
true.
been
That's
doing
true.
before.
Yeah.
That's good.
But like,
all of us, I guess soon.
hopefully, Stefan not for another like 10 years. Yeah.
That's
But you know, sometimes it's important to make your vase, to spend a month on it, and then to start again because you realize that like you know the base of what was there, like the fundamentals, which is why I think the fundamentals are so important. The fundamentals were not there. Like the painting that I did recently, it was I mean, I think I took it off my Instagram, so probably no one's gonna see it. But I posted it, so maybe it's the one of the dude being electrocuted. Jules just made like a really grabby hand motion across the table at me. But I looked at that painting and I was like, you know, conceptually, I think this is cool. I like a lot of the design elements, and I'm practicing a lot of my painting skills at the moment. And, you know, I finished it last night. I posted it, and then I was like, I've posted it, so I'm like calling this version of it done, and I'll look at it again in the morning. And when I looked at it again in the morning, I was like, oh man, the 3D forms are off here, the lighting isn't right, the values are wrong. I think this angle doesn't work for like the concept. And you know what? To like really learn from the experience that I've had there, from that analysis, I have to redo it. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe I will do something else in between, but I have to redo it to really take that lesson home.
I guess the key element is iteration. You can spend a lot of time on something, but just iterate, and also not being too precious about what you're doing.
Yeah.
There was a live drawing course that was happening at industry workshops back in the days, and the teacher, every time so it was like a live drawing course at the event, right? And every time we finished an image, he was like, okay, take your image, take the page, like fuck it up, like mess it up, you know, and throw it in the bin, and then you start again. And like every artist in the room, they were like, oh, like what? No, I've made this drawing, I want to keep it, you know, me included. And sometimes it's like, actually, there's no.
I think that's a really important lesson to learn. The ability to
it's just another
get rid of stuff.
Step to learn something.
Yeah. Like Cynics talks a lot about it on YouTube with like his paint explorations, you know, where I don't know if you've ever seen those, but he essentially does like multiple paintings over the same painting. So he records it.
I don't know about it.
So he just has like a singular layer, and he just paints and paints and paints and paints, and he like builds paintings out of the old paintings and stuff. So it's very like interesting idea. But like I took out of that, you know, that like I started doing that for a while when I was like, oh my God, I don't know, like 16 or 17. And it was a really fundamentally changing moment for me, because I realized suddenly after doing that, you know, I was like, okay, like not everything I do has to be perfect, nor does everything I do have to be kept. So I mean that was great. I mean, yeah, I think you're totally right. It's a really important thing to do. Stefan, do you have anything to add to that, or? You know, as I've been speaking, I've actually forgotten what I was speaking about. I was kind of like a train of consciousness. It was just going.
Yeah.
I just move on to the next
Yeah,
one.
I think the subject.
I think I wanted to say something, but I forgot about it now.
Was it about like another course that you've stolen?
No.
Yes. So vases. We're gonna open a shop.
I want to
vases.
Concept 101 vases.
I want to say about the iteration thing as well. It's just, never be afraid to iterate on anything that you do, or change it. And I think it's gonna only help you to push forward. But also don't stare at your work forever, all the time.
That's why I do though.
But you do it for 20 minutes, not for 3 hours.
But you like a week and then you go away, you know? Like
I feel like at the end of the day,
I've heard
maybe
people
for you,
they're like on the same project for 4 months, and you're like, yeah, but no, finish something else now. Like you need to change, you know?
Yeah.
To go forward.
Yeah. just keep iterating.
Keep trucking.
I think Vitaly Bulgarov said that it's about the speed of iteration. The faster you can iterate, the faster you can get to the final design, right?
Yeah. I think it's also to do with
or painting.
It's a hard
Yeah.
thing. Like, to me, it's very hard to iterate.
Oh
Because
no, I agree.
like I never want to iterate. I'm like, no, I like this,
But
and I never iterate. And then I'm like, shit, maybe if I iterated, I would end up with a way better design. Like I tend to do a sketch, and then I'm like, okay, I like it, and I just do the keyframe.
Yeah, well, it's interesting
It's a mistake.
because a lot of the time, I think, especially because I'm using more 2D processors now, I kind of forgot that I need to do like thumbnails and stuff. Like, because I built some like basic 3D, like some very, very basic 3D to use as a base, just so I don't have to do perspective. And like, I mean, I don't want to find character references and stuff. I just use the 3D to create the references. But, it's really interesting because, I retrospectively, the thing that I should have done before I started this image was I did one sketch and I was like, yeah, it's fine. And I started it. I was like, why didn't I do more? I could have done like conceptually, I think it's a cool idea. And I should have done like 10 black and white thumbnails to like really explore that. And, that's probably the next thing I'm going to do is to go back and to start looking for different camera angles and stuff, maybe in the 3D and doing different sketches and stuff.
Yeah.
And,
I think also because of what we do, working on films,
yeah.
iteration is less needed.
Yeah,
Or less valued
so
over,
true.
over speed.
Yeah.
So maybe I believe probably you, Stefan, you do much more iteration than we
Yeah,
do.
I do a lot of iteration
because it's
on
games,
everything.
right?
Yeah.
Whether me, I mean, I don't know. Do you do a lot of iteration at work?
For certain projects
Yeah.
where it's like a request, but if the request is, so I think that also the differences between work and personal work is when you're doing work, you're given a brief, often with references. Often you might be working with a set that they've provided you, maybe with characters they've even provided you. So it doesn't need as much iteration a lot of the time. Sometimes it does. And, I wish, in the film industry, there was more space for that kind of self-exploration. But a lot of the time, like you said in films, it's just like bang, 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 here we go. Let's hurry up. Why isn't this done yet? Well, actually, no, that's not the case because usually I'm fine. But
No, but
I mean, that is the general vibe of the
yeah,
film industry.
you're rushing to get something out, and then they want to iterate.
Yes. Yeah.
So
That's exactly right.
It's like you never have time to iterate, but
Until you
you always
finish the
come
image.
back to it to
Yeah.
iterate. So you always rushing something. Like
Yeah, it's like you rush the first version
Yeah,
and then you have to spend 3 months working on that version
Yeah.
in the same camera angle.
like what we said, polishing a turd. That's VFX work.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Shots fired.
Very harsh, but very harsh. But no, it's not always like that. But sometimes with specific
That's
tasks,
Jules' opinion and not mine.
I hate my job.
Yeah.
No, of course not. And also working in films is insane. I love it.
I love working
I-
films.
I-
It is.
I would find it very hard for something else.
I love working in video games, I have to say it.
I love it more.
It's better.
We're going to fight about this later. We're going to throw vases at each other.
Yes.
And my
Pottery.
my
doesn't
one
make
will
it-
knock you out because I spent more time crafting
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah. Yours will be, it's tougher. Yours are going to be
It's
weak
fragile.
ones that you've made every day. Yeah.
Yeah, but we got more of them.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
true.
Throw on you. So we can like
I don't know why. I thought it would be kind of like me and you versus Stefan, but now it seems you and Stefan versus me.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm not sure how these like lines divided up. But anyway, I mean, just as like a kind of nearing the end of the hour now. I think are we, Jules?
43 minutes.
43 minutes.
almost
I can't see
44.
the timeline
Yeah.
from where I'm sitting.
That's
So
I'll shout it.
yeah. I mean, something we're talking a lot about like going from student to professional and stuff, and all these fun things. But something that I think is kind of nice and a poignant thing to think about is like, can you tell me a moment, that made you the artist that you are today? Especially since this is the introduction episode, like what is something that you think happened to you, whether you got lost in a supermarket or maybe somebody gave you some good advice that made you, create there's a child screaming.
Oh, great.
That was what made me the artist I am today.
Just
Screaming in the street, screaming children.
I've got a very bad windows at my place, so you might hear cars or
What do you mean? This is a professional recording booth.
ASMR.
shouting kids.
Yeah.
Is that what's
Wait, can we get back to the other thing? God damn, I write notes and screaming
kids ruin them.
children.
It's always kids.
Yeah. What? Jesus Christ. What was a moment that you just completely just
what was the moment that made you?
What was the moment that
artist
made
that
you
you're
the
today?
artist that you are today?
Yeah. Can I
Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
please start because I don't have an answer yet.
So I think the first thing that comes in my mind are the people that I'm surrounded with.
That's not a moment. I want a moment.
Uh,
Give me like a singular, like an event. Like,
if
yeah, see, it's more difficult now, isn't it?
But let's,
I've got one if you want.
Yeah,
okay,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
let's go.
I think going to the UK for two industry workshops for the first time.
Yeah.
I was 15, and a guy called Daniel Matthews.
Not me.
Yeah, not
Gary.
Daniel Matthews, one of the guys that organize industry workshops. He very kindly introduced me to all of it, and he was like the entry door to the industry and the entry door to understanding what was a concept artist and the level needed and all that. And it was like mind blowing. It's like I was going to Disneyland. You know, I flew
Yeah.
from Switzerland to London, which is already insane when you're just, you know, because people go to London to travel, right?
Yeah.
And then I go to this event where it's like all kind of, they all almost look like people which are superheroes. They're like concept artists. And I was like, wow, I want to do that. And yeah, I think that's when I really started to understand what it was, what it took. At the time, I mean, looking back, I did not understand, but that's the moment that kind
I think we all have stories kind of like
of
that.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also that made me being sure I want to do that. Like I was, okay, that's my goal, you know? And it's like my passion actually can be a job.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I have a different. I'll just go with the answer that I wanted to say. So
What? Okay then.
so
Don't engage with my notes at all.
No, I think because what made me, if I think about the artist that I am today, do you mean like the art that I create, or what made me want to become a concept artist? Because
Yeah, like the art that you make.
Okay,
Like
so
what
I
was
think-
like a defining moment that set you on that path?
So I met a friend at uni, Alex, and he was the first. So I started doing concept art, and I was like, yeah, I'll do I guess environment concept art. It looks cool, and then I was like, what do I have to do? I was a very like this kind of person who just break down what I want to do and just do it without any emotions. Just be like, okay, I have to learn perspective and just go and learn perspective. I have to do the thumbnails. Okay, I'm gonna learn how to do thumbnails. And I would go through these skills, never thinking about whether it's fun. And I met this person in uni who genuinely just loved creating things. He was just excited to come up with an idea and then try to polish it. And if it didn't work out, he just moved to another idea. And that's what he did. And that's something that I've never seen with anyone before I met him. There's tons of people like that now that I know. But for me, that was something that I feel like changed the way I work right now, and the artist that I'm, it influenced me a lot. I think,
the power of friendship.
yeah, no, I mean,
No.
no, what I mean is, yeah, just meeting someone who really enjoys coming up with ideas. And every time I work on a project, I try to think of back to that time of Alex like enjoying coming up with ideas. And I live with Daniel as my flatmate now, and he has similar approach to art as well. So I try to feed off of that, and yeah, I feel like those
You really
things-
are like a vampire.
yeah.
Yeah, you have to be invited in and you feed off of other people's energy.
Yeah, but I guess that's the moment. I guess is meeting someone and who really enjoys coming up with ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I could probably tell very similar stories to both of those, whether it be like in Jules's case, like going to an event, the first time I went to an event and like really understanding how bad I was. That was a big moment for me because at university I thought I was hot shit until I went and like met professionals, and I really went around the whole day talking to people and being like, oh, what do you think of my work? And they'd go, yeah, it's pretty bad. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like,
cool.
I think you should learn how to draw first.
Somebody, I won't say
They told me that, and I
who,
was like,
somebody who I don't know how to phrase it without giving away who it is, but somebody told me who I kind of work with now told me that when they saw my work, they said to me, I think you should go into mobile games or animation. I don't think you'll make it in film.
Yeah.
And that was a really big wake up call for me. That honestly, that spite drove me so far, guys. You know, that's
This is what Daniel feeds off.
yeah, I
just
feed off of
spite.
spite. I'm a
Just
spite
like,
vampire.
You'll never make it. It's like, I will make it.
There was a guy at university who said it to me too. An illustration tutor. He was going around the room and he was like, "Oh, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to be?" And everyone was like, "A children's book illustrator, this and that." And when he got to me, I was like, "I want to be a concept artist." And he literally looked at me dead in the eyes and went, "Yeah, no, you won't do that." It was just
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow.
So, similar experience. Some teacher was like, "No, people don't become concept artists. Like, there's something else." And then after 10 years in industry, they're like mad painters, and then they have an opportunity and they become concept artists. And I was like, "Great, thank you."
Yeah, cool. Very inspirational. But if I was gonna, since I'll give something different, you know, because
Yeah,
I've also had friends who inspired me and stuff like that. But I'll give something different. I would say that something that really has influenced the work that I make today is the fact that growing up, my parents, who were very supportive and lovely people, gave me a lot of resources to go and try traditional painting, you know. And when I was at school, and especially at school actually, although I had like a very mixed school experience, we had a great art department. I was able to paint with oils. You know, I was able to work with really big canvases. I was able to work with gouache, watercolor, and on top of that, we had this neighbor who lived across the road from me, who was he is a brilliant artist, and he was able to teach me all these techniques as well, and how to properly apply watercolors and oils and use all these things. And that, I think, now more than ever, especially now that, like I said earlier, I'm coming back to the more 2D techniques, it's really playing into the way that I worked. I'm starting to realize how influential all of that was for me. You know, all of those years of never touching digital media actually have really come back to be very useful now that I'm at a kind of skill level where I can synthesize that information around. And I mean, even like I've started gouache painting again and stuff like that when I can. And I think that, yeah, retrospectively is just like been amazingly foundational to who I am today, because it's given me that like basis of skills that, you know, from a younger age, I was able to develop without even necessarily knowing that I was developing them. Even things like life drawing. Like I think the first time I went to life drawing I was like 14 or something.
Yeah.
So it's just having all of those really great opportunities, I think.
So cool. We should do more live drawings.
All right, if you take your clothes off.
We all be naked. You can't see, but we all.
Yeah, this is,
I'm gonna stop there.
this is a PG-13 podcast.
Bad
Come
jokes.
Oh my god. Well, that was. I feel like I was saying something kind of like cute, and then yeah. All right. Anyway, I just give up. I mean,
on. Okay,
damn.
so
Stefan, please save us.
I guess what would be the since we are nearing the conclusion of this podcast, I think we.
Hey, I decide when we're at the end. All right.
Okay, well,
We got 8 more minutes if you want.
all right. Just some motivational speech. Never give up. You know. Dude, when I was in uni, I knew. All the,
you were telling me about this last
I
week.
knew all the motivational speeches. Not all, but I think I knew majority of the motivational speeches that were on YouTube. And me and my friend, we listened to them so much. We would be walking to university, and one of us would start the motivational speech, and second one would finish it. Like we would know them, like all the sentences, all the phrases. Like yeah, if they say
So
like,
deeply embarrassing, Stefan.
they say something like, if someone knocks you on your back, make sure you can look up, because if you can look up, you can get up and you can keep moving forward. I think that's the Sylvester Stallone speech.
Oh my god. This
from,
is
like,
such a
Rocky.
beautiful insight into just psychosis. That's what this is.
I think
Wow, I didn't know about that.
I know, I found about this
Wow.
last week.
Yeah.
I learned something new about Stefan every
You know what? Every podcast we should start by
a new fact with Stefan.
a Stefan segment, and it's like a motivational speech.
No, not even that. It's just something that Stefan used to do
yeah.
that he now feels funny about.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. So that's the insight into how my university life was. Just like motivational videos and doing concept art every day.
Damn. Yeah.
You do need, you know what? You need motivation when you're trying to do this job. It's a very,
Yeah.
it can be very, very tough to get
Yeah.
into.
Also, I mean, if it's what helps you, I mean, go for it.
I don't, to be honest.
as long as I can bully you about it, it's fine.
I don't listen to them as much anymore. They're just I just try to be excited about concept art rather than motivated about it. I think ultimately it's a better way of going about it rather than like, because motivation or like that kind of motivation is about pushing through adversities, and you definitely need that. Like I have plenty of days at work when I don't want to do work and I just sit down and I push through it. And it's even if the project is really interesting, sometimes you're just not in the mood, and it's good to have the ability to just push through something that you have to do, right? But I think it's also very important to still look in this job or in your career for things that you enjoy, and trying to look for that excitement of
Or
the
also
idea.
just to find things outside of this job that you can enjoy, to be honest, as well. You know, I think uh, uh, there's a lot of, you know, I feel like some people like feel pressure to be passionate about concept art, and at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like, you don't have to be. It's a job. It's a thing that you can, and you know what? It's way better than most other jobs. It's way more fun. It's way more enjoyable. It's way more creative. But at the end of the day, it's still a job. And if you're not, you know, you don't have to be going into work every day beaming from ear to ear. And if you're a student listening to this, you don't have to be doing your portfolio practice every day beaming from ear to ear. Sometimes it's enough just to do it. You know, that's what's important, is just getting it done. I think, you know, you shouldn't feel any kind of guilt for not being motivated, because that's just a human expression of life, you know,
Yeah.
not being motivated.
Also, I think it's very easy to feel guilt when you're trying to get in this industry, especially looking at what people post on ArtStation and all that. Like, you know, if I look at my work,
Yeah.
my Instagram is a lie, you know? I mean, I think like all no, but I feel like all of our Instagrams are lies because it's just polished artworks. I mean, recently you're posting more tests, even though they're still great.
Are you saying that my work's bad? Just literally like 2 seconds away from going, I mean, your Instagram down that is fucking
It's getting
shit, man. Yeah.
No, but you know, like all the work I post is work I feel proud about, but most of the work I do I don't feel proud about, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like,
It's very
even
hard to compare, and yeah.
I feel
yeah,
like I do my best work at work, kind of.
I
think
I have done some
Yeah,
work that I'm proud
yeah.
of at work.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too, but I haven't done a shit ton of work I'm never gonna publish because
Yeah,
I'm not
dude.
proud about it.
I
You know?
cannot.
They work for work.
Yeah, I
But,
cannot.
you know.
I have some. I have when I joined Sharkmob, I would say the first 6 months of that work, I'm never showing to anyone. Even if I get all the, and they go like, yeah, you can post it. There's like 0 chance.
And you know what, Steven? That's a positive note to end on, because you're always getting better. Or can you end this with a motivational quote about getting better all the time or something? Something about that? Or we'll just make one up, me and
Yeah,
Jules. If you get knocked down, just remember you'll always get better at making art. All right.
No,
So thank you very much.
I would
say-
get better at passing out every time.
I would say just.
I'm waking up every time.
I'd say even if it feels difficult, as long as you enjoy it and you have a passion for concept art and want to do it, then just keep going with it. Find your little group of friends that want to do it and push you together, and eventually you will succeed. And yeah,
It'll all be okay in the end. But anyway, I think that's probably a good place to end it. So we really hope you guys enjoyed listening, especially since the first episode. And if you want more of these awful podcasts, please feel free to like and subscribe at the YouTube channel. And if you're listening on Spotify, to follow the page. We release episodes every 2 weeks, and if you want any more additional information about the podcast or the event, be sure to check out our Instagrams, which are linked in the description below. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
bye.